The phone rang a little after midnight, and something inside me knew this was not an ordinary call. A calm hospital nurse asked if I was the grandfather of my 8-year-old grandson. My heart tightened before she finished speaking. I grabbed my keys and drove through empty streets, praying every red light would change faster. When I reached his room, he was sitting alone on the narrow hospital bed, clutching a worn blanket with frightened eyes searching every face except mine. His first question broke me. "Grandpa, where's Mom?" The nurse lowered her voice and admitted they had called repeatedly, but no parent had arrived. I held his trembling hand, hiding my own fear. What I discovered about where she actually was changed our family forever, though I could never have imagined that painful truth. My grandson had always reached for my hand before anyone else's. From the day he learned to walk, we shared quiet mornings fishing, long talks during slow drives, and simple promises that neither of us ever forgot. After his parents divorced, I accepted that life would change. His mother remarried within a year, saying her new husband deserved a future untouched by old family complications. I respected her choice because peace seemed more valuable than arguments. Still, peace has a way of hiding uncomfortable truths. Weekend visits were canceled without explanation. School plays came and went unnoticed. My calls often ended unanswered, while my grandson's cheerful voice gradually became hesitant and guarded. Whenever I asked whether everything was all right, he smiled politely before changing the subject. I sensed something slipping beyond my reach, yet I refused to accuse anyone without reason. Looking back now, those quiet moments were the earliest warnings. That lonely hospital room forced me to admit something I had resisted for months. This was not one unfortunate night. It was the latest chapter in a pattern I had quietly witnessed. Family dinners were skipped for weekend getaways. Parent-teacher meetings gave way to glamorous parties. Birthdays were shortened because another social event seemed more important. Whenever I expressed concern, friends and relatives rushed to defend my daughter. They insisted she deserved happiness after everything she had endured, as though responsibility and joy could never exist together. I stopped arguing because truth rarely grows louder through debate. Instead, I watched carefully, remembering every missed promise and every disappointed expression on my grandson's face. He never complained, which somehow made the silence heavier. What nobody realized was that every excuse was quietly becoming evidence. They believed I had accepted their explanations. In reality, I had simply begun paying closer attention than anyone suspected. While I sat beside my grandson, a nurse stepped into the hallway and tried calling his mother again. This time she answered. I could hear enough to understand everything. She apologized politely, but explained she was attending an exclusive celebration with her new husband, and asked whether someone else could remain with her son until morning. The nurse glanced toward me before quietly ending the call. In that moment, my disappointment outweighed my anger. I finally understood exactly where my grandson stood in her list of priorities. She arrived nearly 2 hours later, irritated instead of concerned. Rather than asking how her child felt, she accused me of interfering and judging every decision she made. I looked at her calmly and spoke the only words that mattered. A parent isn't measured by the promises they make, but by the moments they refuse to abandon. She looked away without answering. I never raised my voice after that night because anger would have changed nothing. Instead, I began collecting facts that no argument could erase. I requested hospital records documenting unanswered emergency calls. I kept copies of messages canceling visits and ignoring urgent concerns. School reports revealed missed meetings and repeated absences whenever parental involvement was expected. Nurses, teachers, and relatives shared their observations without pressure, because they had witnessed the same troubling pattern. Before making any decision, I spoke with professionals who reminded me that protecting a child always mattered more than proving someone wrong. My purpose was never revenge against my daughter. It was security for my grandson. They thought my silence meant surrender. It was actually preparation. Every careful step brought me closer to ensuring he would never feel abandoned again. The custody hearing arrived without drama, just quiet determination. My daughter walked into the courtroom with confidence, convinced the concerns would be dismissed as nothing more than an overprotective grandfather's opinion. I said very little until the judge invited me to speak. Then I presented months of carefully organized records, unanswered messages, hospital documentation, and attendance reports from my grandson's school. A nurse explained how emergency calls had gone unanswered that night. School officials confirmed repeated absences whenever parental involvement mattered most. None of them spoke with anger. They simply told the truth. As every fact settled into the record, the confidence on my daughter's face slowly disappeared. The judge made it clear this case was not about one difficult evening, but a continuing pattern of neglect. The courtroom fell silent when temporary custody was granted to me, placing my grandson's safety above appearances, excuses, and pride. Life became quieter after the hearing, and that quiet finally brought peace instead of worry. My grandson slowly found his smile again. He laughed without hesitation, slept through the night, and no longer wondered whether someone would come when he needed help. I never celebrated the court's decision because I had not set out to defeat my daughter. I only wanted one little boy to know he would never face life's hardest moments alone. Justice, I learned, is strongest when it protects the innocent without feeding bitterness. Responsibility is love made visible, and true family always arrives when it matters most.